Just to wind up today, we want to talk about one particular resource, which is a course that's been produced a few years ago called Everybody Welcome. And Fiona, who was vicar not far from here, or curate not far from here, curate, and is now vicar not too far away from here, but she's used this course a couple of times, and I thought it was always better to hear from somebody who's done it. So over to Fiona.
Okay, so wait a minute, am I on? Or am I on? Yeah. Fantastic. Right, so hello everybody, I'm glad to see you. I've charged over from Ardsley, where I'm vicar at Christ Church Ardsley, which is in the Waff Deanery on the edge of Barnsley. Everybody welcome course. I happened to meet Bob Jackson, who wrote this course, about 3 months before this was published, and had a fantastic conversation with him about his passion for hospitality and all the stuff I think you've all been talking about all morning. So I was hot off the press the moment it was published. I grabbed hold of a copy, and indeed I have led 2 churches, both called Christ Church, because I don't like to vary myself or complicate my life by having different names of churches I work with. So we've done it with 2 churches, one just up the road, right David, and one Christ Church in Ardsley. So it's great. I think the key of this course is actually, I think Mark's just mentioned it, is the subtitle. It's called Everybody Welcome. The subtitle is the course where everybody helps grow their church. So it is about an opportunity to work through the whole with the whole church family to help them think about their welcome. And as we know, all our churches are incredibly warm and welcoming places, because we all make that claim. And yet I know that you've all got at least 1, if not 2 stories about how you've been to a church where you didn't feel incredibly welcomed. It's amazing that, isn't it? Which is why this course is so powerful, because it actually challenges the church family together to really look at what they do and how it comes across, and how what they believe they're demonstrating, how that might be perceived. So I'm not sure what I've got up here. You can't see it anyway. So the resources that you need to be thinking about if you want to run this course. First of all is to think about who you're going to invite to do it. I would say the whole church family needs to take part. You can't make everybody come, but you can do your best to think about when are you going to run it. If you've got a strong youth group, get the youth group to, do they come into the whole thing, or do they do it separately? Do you have a daytime session? Do you have an evening session? But really make sure that everybody's had the opportunity of taking part. You don't need the pack, which you can get from the church house. There's a DVD, so immediately you need to be thinking about how we're going to demonstrate this. If you're here, or if you're lucky enough like I have in my last 2 churches, we've had a big screen that we've been able to play it on. But think through how are you going to be able to show the little video clips, because there are 4 sessions each with video clips. There are members' booklets. Now I'm going to be honest with you, these are £3.99 each. At both churches I've made the offer, if anybody wants to order one, they can, and I'll order it for them. But actually very few people do, and I've not been in a position in a church to be able to afford to buy one of these for everybody. Great thing to have, because there's background reading for each session. But what I've done is I've produced a little note sheet for each session with the homework for next week and spaces for writing. So you can have a chat with me later if you want a copy of what I've produced for our lot. But if you can afford it, then get them to get their own members' books. Then you need to think about, when you do it, good hospitality. You cannot do a session which is all about how you welcome and then offer them half a tin of rich tea biscuits which are slightly broken and some cold tea. So offer good hospitality, because you've got to model the sort of hospitality you think you should be offering everybody else. Think about making sure that there's space for discussion. And so there's physical space for discussion. How will you manage that if you're in a church with fixed pews? How will you manage to give them space to talk together? Each of the sessions, like I said, I've got DVD clips. One of the warnings I would say to you is Bob Jackson and George Fisher, who wrote the course, have obviously been on that well-known Church of England training course for producing video clips. And they're sat in a kitchen with a mug of tea in front of them, because that's really welcoming. And they're really, really welcoming. And they just like to really over-enunciate their words. The content of what they say is fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. But be prepared that it's slightly OTT. So just warn your people to just bear with the initial welcome. Because what they say say is just great. You get my point? Right. The rest of the DVDs are very, very good actually, but just be prepared. Before you run your course, you will not need to have pre-arranged two things. A mystery visitor, somebody who comes and visits your church. They come, they have a look outside, you welcome inside the church premises, and they'll give you a report which you then give back to your people. So a mystery visitor, just get that sense of what the buildings are like. And what I would say to you is, if you do this, don't arrange a time to meet them at your church. Don't give them any more information, because that will help you assess how easy it was for them to find out where they could park, or where the local bus route was, or actually where your church was. There isn't a taxi driver in Barnsley who knows where my church is, but they know where the Working Men's Club is on the other side of the road, because of the physical space. The other thing you'll need to arrange is a mystery worshipper, far more challenging. So again, make sure you give them the basic, suggest a day that they come, give them the basic time, but again, let them find out where you are. Even actually be challenging. Tell them if you come to the main Sunday service. See if they can find out when that might be. And then they will come, there's a little report that you give them, they will fill in, and you feed that back to the groups. And those are really challenging things to do. So each session, there are 4 sessions, well, there are 5. The fifth is optional. That's your worship team training. So in your church families, you need to be thinking about 4 sessions. Each session has the same structure. It starts with a course of prayer. It has some opening scripture to reflect on. So everything is very scripturally based. There are, like I say, probably about 3 or 4 video clips that you watch, and then a checklist. If you've done the Mission Action Plan Toolkit, which Alice has so kindly provided us with, thank you so much, Mark, you'll be well used to those little checklists that we did. It's a bit like doing an old Jackie magazine. I'm going to show you age now, aren't I? You know, my boyfriend, tick, A, B or C. So you get a lot of these checklists in each session. It's usually about 4 or 5. So there are 2 things you need to have. You need to have enough of them pre-printed out, ready for everybody to have. You need to have somebody or a couple of people who are set up each evening to collate the checklists and collate them on the night, so that at the end of the evening they can feed back the results. I have to say, my second time I ran this, that failed for me, and I fed back the results the next week, and it didn't have the same impact. But actually, what I would also say is the results of numbers are a bit meaningless. What it does is it gets people thinking about the issues. So that's the purpose of it really. So don't worry too much about the numbers, whether they've got 5s or 3s or 2s. It's actually the kind of the thought process it got people through and the comments that it brings up. So that's your checklist. There will be group discussions, and at the end of each session there's always a bit of homework, something for them to go and do. So for instance, I think at the end of the first session, everybody's supposed to go and have a look at a shop, and have a look at the signs and how welcoming. Would you want to go into that shop? And what is it that would make you want to go in or would make you not want to go in? And then come and look at your own church. So the first session, helping people to discover the church's existence and character, or really, how do people know that we're here anyway? If somebody new moved into your parish and they wanted to come to church, how would they know that you were there? How would they know what time to come? How would they know what you offered? Thinking through things like that. It's also thinking about, who do we know? It's thinking about, actually, as individuals, in one of my churches we discovered there were a couple of couples who to begin with were quite proud of us. So when they did a personal checklist, they realised that they only knew people who came to church. And they thought this was quite good, because this was a sign that they were good Christian people. Until we pointed out, well, if you only know people who come to church, how will we ever get the gospel out there if you don't know anybody else? So it challenges us individually, but also as a church family. It makes you stop and think, what services do we do? What events do we do? Where are our connections currently with the communities which we serve? And like I say, then it helps you to stop and think about what publicity you have, how will people know where you are, both from notice boards and from internet, etc. The second session, giving people a good experience of the church premises. This is where your mystery visitor report comes in. And also it helps you to stop to think about, what are our buildings really like? Are they fit for purpose? Are they welcoming? Are they warm? one of the things we've identified is, like here at St John's, it's wonderful glass doors you come in. It's one of the things that we're working on at the moment is having a glass door. Because you realise that when you first come in at Christ Church Ardsley, there's just a big, as there is in many of our churches, a big wooden door. It's really off-putting that as a physical barrier to somebody walking in. Whereas if it's glass and you can see through, you're more likely to walk in. Session 3, give people a good experience of the church people. This is where your mystery worshipper report comes in, which can be quite terrifying for all sorts of reasons. But again, this is an opportunity to get people to think, well, if somebody was going to a service, what is it like when they arrive? Some of the things that we identified at Ardsley was we're really welcoming. But there's a real welcoming gang of people that hover and also as soon as you walk through the door, there's a little gang of people, all excited to welcome new people, but more importantly, excited to welcome each other and catch up on the latest events. So we also identified actually they need to, if they want to do that conversation, do it, but not in front of the door. We've identified that we wanted to have some welcome labels so people would know, actually, this is somebody who's on duty today. Welcome is part of everybody's duty, but sometimes you have to have some people whose responsibility is that day to do a particular task. And our Sunday Club leaders now have a badge which says Sunday Club leaders for that day. We identified from our mystery worship report that, yeah, we think you're really welcoming, and one of the questions is, would you come again? No. Even all the way through, we've been really positive, because it feels like it might be a social club, and I don't know how you would join. So one of the things we've addressed, well, two of the things we've addressed from that, it was when I arrived, they sung Happy Birthday each week. So we now do once a month, we have a celebration tin. So anybody who's got a celebration that month can come forward, as opposed to 92-year-old Ada, who apparently was always going to be able to tell me whose birthday it was that week. As I did point out, how does Ada know? Oh, she'll know. She didn't always know. And the piece, we've cut back our piece. Some of you will be horrified, some of you will go, yes. So, because we realised again, actually people were getting left on their own in the pew while other people went round having a cuddle. So actually we recognise we need to offer the peace, but we need to do it in a way that doesn't terrify people who are not used to this. One of the things that we identified from that session as well was our pew collection. Our mystery worshipper came with her child and they were there ready to put their money in the collection, and at that point they didn't do a pew collection. The money was a dish at the front of church which you couldn't see because of the huddle of people welcoming you, and then the dish suddenly appeared at the front of church and they said, well, what happens? How do we it's gone. So we've now reintroduced pew collections, which my treasurer is exceptionally happy with because it's improved our giving. So that's that session. And then the fourth session is actually helping newcomers belong to the church community. It's great. You might come to church for the first time and you get a really warm welcome, it's fantastic. You might come 2 weeks later and experience exactly the same. But if you're coming a month later and nobody's really quite remembered your name or asked you anything more than, hi, hello, how are you, been here before, lovely, your name, but they've never got any deeper with you than that, you've never had an opportunity to engage in anything, the chances are people will disappear again. So it's about that movement from coming to belonging into the community. So that's a really powerful session, and it's an opportunity as well for the church family to stop and think, well, what are the jobs and what are the things that we do and who does do them, and are there ways in which other people could do. So that's the big picture. Is it helps you, and I think what's powerful from my point of view as a church leader is some of the things we identified were things that I'd spotted fairly quickly at Ardsley actually. But actually, we spotted them, we worked through them together then. So it became not just that the vicars come and said, we need to put glass in that door, or we need to do a pew collection, or I need to cut the piece back a bit. It became something that as a church family we worked through. And there's all sorts of other things that we've done as well since. So it's about discovering and being honest about your context, and then exploring and experiencing your buildings, your publicity, your worship, and then that sense of family. Who are we as God's people? Are we offering real family? I've gone too far. I've no idea what's happened. So the things I would say to you at the end is, I think it's a really good course to do. I think it's really powerful. If you're a church leader and you're new in your parish, don't do what I did. I did it too quickly. I don't think it would have changed the results, but I think it would, the trust level would have been better if I'd left it for the first year, I think. What I would say is, obviously you've all got your mission action plans in your churches. Get ready to, if you do this, get ready to update them and alter them and add new things to them and make them what they should be, which is a living document anyway, because there will be all sorts of things. Some things you change immediately. We had name labels literally the week after the session for the welcome team and for the Sunday club. The glass door, a year and a half later, was still on that, and that will be done hopefully by Christmas. I'm saying that, but that was more of a kind of a please Lord by Christmas, please. And consider as well, finally what I would say is really think through, before you start, how will you feed back the results? Because all sorts of stuff will come up, some of it immediately, some 4 years down the line, 5 years down the line, but how do you feed that information back? Because it might be that you take it to your PCC or to a small group to work through, but think now, how will you keep that communication flow going? Because that's really important. Now, I don't know, can you see that? I was going to say, this is the course prayer, and I thought we could say it together. Yes. We'll leave it up, and then you could use it if people can see it. No, see it, not sing it. If you want to sing it, more than welcome, but I won't be joining you.
Thank you so much, Fiona. I know you rushed here especially for that. And we don't single out people, it embarrasses them, doesn't it? But I think we should, because she's coming especially. Thank you.